Manchester City have won the Super Cup for the first time in their history after beating Sevilla following a 1-1 draw in Athens. After losing the Community Shield in a shootout to Arsenal 11 days ago, Guardiola's side held their nerve in this shootout to claim their fourth piece of silverware in less than 3 months.
It means a lot of things. Of course that I'm happy, especially my first game from the first minute and already first trophy. So I hope many more to come.
So a successful full debut for Guardiola and another impressive display from Cole Palmer, who was named Player of the Match. The 21-year-old becomes only the second player to score in the Community Shield and the Super Cup in the same year after Michael Owen back in 2001. Guardiola, however, admitted after the game that he's actually uncertain over the future of the Manchester City youngster.
The opinion I had when he arrived, he wanted to leave. But now I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think loan is going to happen. I was going to stay, I was going to sell, but I think loan is not going to happen.
A little bit on his performance tonight.
You have a character, a part of the goal. So he was a bit shy. It's not easy to play against defenders like Acuna, for example, is a top defender. It's not easy, it's a final, he's a young player, playing these stages. It's not easy for these guys, so, and play really, really good and make a fantastic goal too.
Hopefully if I get a chance I can show what I can do, so maybe. But obviously, you know the level that De Bruyne, like Kev plays at, so yeah, I don't know to be honest.
So Cole Palmer looking very impressive so far. I mean, there's a lot to talk about his future, though. What's the latest that we know?
Yeah, no surprise that people are talking about him. Look at the summer he had with England, winning the Under-21 Euro Championships for starters. He scored in the Community Shield. He scored again last night. 14 appearances for Manchester City in the Premier League last season, so he has been very much on the fringes of things. We know that West Ham inquired as to his availability earlier on in the summer. There are a number of Premier League clubs that would be interested in Cole Palmer for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But the big decision really, will he get the game time that he needs now under Pep Guardiola, or will he have to move on? There's been a precedent set really by Manchester City in the past that they are willing to sell their younger players for the right price. You just have to look at the beginning of this window. James Trafford, goalkeeper, went from Manchester City to Burnley for £19 million. Last summer, very similar situation. The likes of Romeo Lavia, Gavin Bazzuno, Samuel Edozie. A number of players have all left Manchester City's B team, reserve team, and generated huge profits for the football club. Big shout out to Brian Barry Murphy and his team, because they clearly do an incredible job for that Manchester City reserve side, developing players. And those players are going on and playing at the very highest level. So they're clearly doing something right. This is going to be one to monitor. There are a number of Premier League sides that would be keen on Cole Palmer. We understand his value would be in excess of £25 million. You know, he's a very highly sought after youngster. And it feels like this could be a significant point in his career, because game time is going to be key.
It is. Could a potential deal for Lucas Paqueta be a bit of a factor in this? What do you think, Patrick?
I'd have thought so, but we've got to remember that they're replacing both Mahrez and De Bruyne. You know, there's a lot of minutes to be soaked up in this squad, and I thought that in this Super Cup game he showed that he can do a job as a proper wide player. You know, got 4 shots, but also completed 4 dribbles. So that kind of versatility, I think, will be really important, especially if it allows Foden to move into the centre as well. With Pep, it's always a little bit of trying to work out what he's going to do. He'll Frankenstein something together.
The latest situation, just to update you on the Paqueta thing, is we know that Manchester City are interested in the West Ham player. He has a release clause of £85 million, but that doesn't kick in until next summer. The early indications from initial contact between the two clubs was that there was a fee roughly of around 65 million muted. He only joined West Ham last year for 51 million, so West Ham aren't going to want to lose a key player and have such a small profit. But the problem is, if he has this desire to join Pep Guardiola and Manchester City, if he says to David Moyes in the hierarchy at West Ham, look, this is an opportunity I cannot walk away from, please can we find a solution, then it's our understanding, whilst West Ham don't want to sell, it would have to be a feat in excess of £85 million to even really start the negotiations. When you look at Declan Rice going for in excess of 100, you look at Moises Caicedo for 115, Paqueta is a very highly sought after player that could potentially be hedging towards those kind of numbers. So this is going to be another one of these transfers to watch between now and the end. But when Manchester City normally turn someone's head, more often than not, they'll get the player.
Yeah, and playing into West Ham's hands, of course, a situation with City knowing that they're going to need to try and replace these players. As Patrick mentioned, Dougie, it's Mahrez as well, isn't it? Because he's sold, and then Kevin De Bruyne injured. Is it wise for City to maybe try and keep Palmer? What do you reckon?
I definitely wouldn't think about selling him right now, just because it doesn't feel like his value is the most it could be. I think if he has a successful loan next season, I think he could potentially double his value. I know he's had a good last couple of weeks, but he only played about 350 league minutes last season for Man City. And I think there will be clubs that are looking at him. We mentioned West Ham there, but I think if Crystal Palace lose Michael Olise, he'd be perfect to bring in on a loan deal. And the player they're looking at as a permanent replacement on that right wing for Mahrez seems to be Jeremy Doku of Rennes. A really, really exciting player. I think he completed the third most dribbles in Europe last season. But he's around a similar age to Cole Palmer as well. So it doesn't feel like he's a massive step up in terms of experience or quality necessarily just yet.
What do you reckon, Patrick?
I absolutely agree. I think if you're going to target a relatively raw player in Doku, then Palmer's got a right to say, well, give me these minutes, especially when he thinks Bukayo Saka had been in the Arsenal team for 3 years by this age. In fact, Palmer's slightly older. Alejandro Garnacho is playing now regularly for Manchester United. If it were me, I would want the club to be honest with me about how much they're going to use me.
The thing about Manchester City as well is that you know that they will get to the latter stages of every single competition. You know, they will play best part of 60 games this season. So even if you only started 50% of them, you're still going to get 30 starts. You'll play Champions League football, which you did last season. Same with the Premier League. But it's just whether that is enough for him to say, actually, I want to stay and continue my development here at Manchester City around these great players, or it's time for me to go.
Those bench, so all those added on minutes as well might kind of help get those extra minutes. So there's that to throw in here as well. We've had a first proper look, haven't we, at Josko Vardiol last night. I mean, is he going to settle straight into this team? We've got Aymeric Laporte, of course, as well, that's set to leave. What do you reckon, Dougie?
I think Aymeric Laporte's time at Man City was probably done. I think he was, very much fourth or fifth choice last year. Guardiola, the fact he can play at left back, can play at centre back, is so physically developed already for such a young man. Looks like he's going to instantly hit the ground running. Guardiola also has experience going deep into a World Cup with Croatia. He was probably the Bundesliga's outstanding young centre back for a number of seasons now. And looks like he's got the passing range, the physicality to match what Pep is now looking for from his defence, which is 4 very capable on-the-ball defenders, but also these physical, have high physical capabilities to deal with anything that comes their way.
And the last transfer, we had João Cancelo departing. We're quite shocked about that. We've got Laporte now on his way out, just turned 29 years old. Is this, do you think, Patrick, just another example of how this City team evolves? Yeah,
I mean, Pep always does funky things with his defence from season to season. It feels like one centre-back always drops out of contention at some stage. But they're that kind of age where you want to sell them. You can still recoup a decent fee for them. And partially as well, I think it's something Guardiola was talking about last season when Arteta's Arsenal were top of the league. He said, we need to replicate that level of togetherness. So now I think the tolerance for disruptive elements, gone.